Welcome to the Art House Legends video cast discussion of the 88th Annual Academy Awards. This is the MovieDude Eric. Along with me are...
This is John Lobster.
And this is Kent.
And it's Oscar time. So, gentlemen, I don't know about y'all, but this has been a very unique Academy Award experience that I had.
Very unique.
On Sunday. I actually got to see it with a group of people. We had an interesting discussion as the awards were going on. Did y'all see it with other people, or were you just watching it by yourself and you're lonesome?
I watched it with my lady friend until she went to bed right around the time that supporting actors were getting their awards.
I was watching it here with family while communicating with Lobster.
Yeah, we were
I was in the future.
Yeah, he was about a minute ahead of me, so Kent would say, "Oh, it's Mad Max," and then I would say, "I think Mad Max is going to win," and then
And I know it's going to win. I have
Yeah.
seen it.
yeah.
So you were constantly giving spoilers all night, weren't you, Kent?
Once I knew it was spoilers,
he
I was
backed off a little.
was
Yeah,
going like, "Ooh," or "You'll never guess."
yeah.
Because actually, towards the end, it was kind of a surprise.
There were a few surprises.
There were definitely some surprises this one, although I have to say I was really let down on those surprises for the most part, especially when it came to the two that I was really hoping would go very differently than the way they went.
Sure.
But anyway, so I guess let's go ahead and let's bring it up because they pretty much clobbered us over the head over it the entire night, which was obviously Oscar So White. Now, we've kind of mentioned on some of the podcasts over the Oscar period that we were doing last month some of our general opinions of what we thought of the entire ordeal. Let's go a little bit specifically. What were your ideas, or what were your ideas of Oscar So White going into it? And do you think that they conveyed or gave you some sort of assurances that that they're taking the right steps moving forward? And I want to start with you, Kent, because you've been the least talkative of this.
Well, I know they skip. You could say you're going to be more diverse with the voting next year, but it all depends on who's voting, what gets made. We can't predict this future of this coming year completely. So we can't guarantee there's going to be that next year won't be so white. This year should not have been so white. So I don't know how you fix it to be fair for the coming year. Now, apparently they've made some changes where if you haven't worked in 10 years, you can't vote anymore. I'm not quite sure how that's going to fix things, but...
Well, it means that the ones that are actually working are the ones that are voting.
Yeah.
Which I could kind of see as being fair, and it's right. You don't want someone that's been resting on their laurels for the last 40 years to not be able to, or to have some say in what's happening in Hollywood right now. Well, we'll talk about some of the others though that I think it's kind of unfair for, but we'll discuss that. What about you, Lobster?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the big thing going into it was the fact that for 2 years in a row, there have been no actors of color nominated for any of the acting roles, and so that was kind of the narrative going into it. Now, I feel like it was a mixed bag in terms of how they approached that with the show itself. I feel like in terms of showing us how the Academy is addressing these issues and how they recognize it and they want to make improvements and changes to have more diversity, I think they did a terrible job communicating that, because I don't think you walked away from having watched the ceremony knowing that yes, these issues are being addressed, and this specifically is how they kind of needed like just a bullet point of here are the things that we're going to do a little bit differently, and I think that the ceremony itself was the perfect opportunity to do that. Let's talk about how the controversy was addressed in the show itself. Obviously, Chris Rock made a lot of references to the controversy, and I think he did also kind of a mixed bag in being successful at that. Some of his jokes I think were rather pointed and worked well, but I think others absolutely just went over like a lead balloon.
Well, I think that the ones that worked were the ones that he had time to really work on. His opening monologue, I thought, got to the point. I really I agreed with him wholeheartedly about the kind of Hollywood sorority racism that you can kind of see pop its head up, especially when it comes to lead performers, and how there's a hesitancy to put different ethnicities into main leads because they're concerned about returns specifically, especially considering that we now have actors of color that are easily capable of pulling in 100 million to almost nearly $1 billion. I mean, John Boyega is one of the main leads in Star Wars The Force Awakens. Oscar Isaac, lead of Force Awakens. Both of them are not white. And I think that...
I didn't mean so much that as... It's kind of one thing to make these jokes but on the other hand, you kind of got this weird sense that he was pandering a little bit to the mainly white audience that was in attendance, and so a lot of the jokes got hearty laughter from the audience, and then I was sitting at home like, wait, I don't really think that's funny. Like when you're joking about grandmothers, hanging from trees, and the whole thing about Jada Pinkett Smith and Rihanna's panties. I'm like, wait, what? And that's not to mention the Asian bit later in the show that we'll talk about.
That was kind of brilliant in a very different way, but I'm going to say I want to go ahead and bring it out.
How was it brilliant? Please.
We'll talk about that in just a minute. I want to get to the Jada Pinkett thing because this is hitting on something that I have a bit of a problem with when it came to the Oscar So White, because as we've mentioned before in several different areas, some of the performances that I really enjoyed this particular year and that I thought were truly worthy of award nominations and that had gotten nominated from other critic societies and had their names in buzz, didn't get that particular attention. But I'll say right now, Will Smith was not one of those names. And him doing the whole protest thing, it felt extremely self-serving, and Jada Pinkett doing what she did, extremely self-serving. To have Spike Lee, who had a movie out that I'm pretty sure he also wanted to get awards attention, also pretty self-serving. To me, that really kind of hurt, especially in a year that we had, yet again, Alejandro González Iñárritu and Emmanuel Lubezki, who not only, who were not just nominated, but in fact Lubezki won he's the first cinematographer to win back-to-back Oscars, and they're completely ignored because they're not actors, and it's just kind of awkward to see how the Oscar So White campaign seemed to be so focused specifically on actors that they really didn't care much about the smaller categories and the crew categories, which to me is kind of what the Oscars are all about. For me at least, I want to celebrate the sound mixers and the cinematographers and the editors. And while there is there's still some diversity issues there. Again, it's one of those things where we're still kind of forgetting that these people exist, all so that we can.
To be honest, I would have been totally fine with if Chris Rock had said like, oh, you're upset that Will didn't get nominated, but that was not his argument. His argument was, you're boycotting the Oscars, but honey, you weren't invited. Like Jada Pinkett Smith can't get into the Oscars. You know what I mean? Like it's absolutely ridiculous to say. And then he makes the point about, oh, you're just a TV actor. Well, I'm sorry, but right now television is doing a lot better job than film giving good roles to actors of color. I mean, look at Jada Pinkett Smith on Gotham. She is an anchor of that show from the last season, and is returning to the show again. So it seemed like How to Get Away with Murder. There are tons of shows that are giving awesome roles to actors of color. But
you mean Academy Award nominee Viola Davis?
But it seems like his argument was like, you're not at this level.
I think that in a way he was kind of making a dig at the fact that she hasn't done any work that would put her in the realm of an Academy Award. It is a bit of a snarky thing that he did. I'm not going to agree with him on that, but at the same time, I felt that considering how vocal that she had been in regards to the Oscar So White campaign, how she threw herself into this campaign specifically, that he felt that she was fair game, and in a way I could kind of say that he was right. I would have probably picked a more smarter joke to lay on her, but again, that's his brand of humor, and sometimes he does get pretty nasty about it. But
the way Chris Rock drove his jokes.
Yeah.
So beyond the monologue, getting kind of into this again. Kind of you're kind of throughout the show. These things came up. Was there anyone who you felt handled it well? I mean, I don't think Chris Rock handled it well. I don't think that was quite the healing tone that we necessarily needed to kind of bridge this gulf.
I don't think that this was ever meant to be a healing tome. I think that this was the Academy Awards version of a roast. They were roasting themselves on this whole issue.
The White People's Choice Awards.
Pretty much. This is what the whole point of this was to make to take the most brutal punishment that they can think of giving themselves, because apparently they couldn't just bring Ricky Gervais to kneecap them as he does so well, but I guess the thing is that this is a very sensitive group, to say the least. They don't take criticism too well.
The crowd seemed to love it.
They were awkward. The laughter was hum so far. You didn't have any real knee slappers. There were, and especially when they came very targeted, there were a lot of people that were kind of. You could feel the awkwardness in the room. Very few people were genuinely enjoying it.
There's truth to every joke, I guess.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, this time around, they were intending to make people uncomfortable. The whole point of this was to guilt everyone in that room, to make them feel ashamed of themselves, because apparently, if because you didn't nominate Will Smith or nominate some other actor that you should have that you should be ashamed of yourself. And some of them took it rather well. I think Mark Ruffalo seemed to be enjoying himself a little bit too much, to be honest, but others not so much. And I guess for me, it's like, yeah, there is a problem with race in Hollywood and in the Academy specifically, but I am more concerned about this turning into a quota fest where we're not going to be celebrating the best. We're celebrating, we're celebrating just, a particular group. And
do you think he was right?
This group's going to get that.
What did you think of his point about, you don't really need to have men and women categories for acting? It's not.
I agree with.
It's not the shot put. It's not track and field. But should they have best black performance, best Asian performance, best white performance?
This was one of my favorite jokes of the entire ceremony. It reminded me of his dig the first time he did the Oscars, where he got onto the Academy because no one performed anything. With the Tonys, people came up and performed. At the Grammys, people came up and sang. We couldn't get Morgan Freeman to come up and do a line. I mean, to me, it felt again that he does know kind of how to hit these people in a way that very few people can, with the exception of Ricky Gervais. But I doubt that the Academy would have gone so far as to let Ricky do his magic, because by that point, the entire town would have probably been on fire by the time he was done. But they got the nicer of the two, and Chris Rock, it was a mixed bag. I'm not gonna lie, it's a mixed bag. No one really did a good job on this.
Well, I would pick three people that I thought did a good job with their presenting duties. I would say
Joe Biden?
Sarah Silverman, for one.
No.
Did an awesome job. No?
No.
Why not?
I didn't laugh at all. That was bad. That was simply bad. I've heard good James Bond rape jokes before. This isn't even like pass. This is like Sarah Silverman has done better rape jokes before.
I was going from least to best, so let me finish. Sacha Baron Cohen, I have long awaited the return of Ali G, and I did enjoy. I think that's a great character to have kind of comment on.
You mean a white guy appropriating a black guy?
Absolutely. I think that's I think that's kind of a great way to do it. And I think the best was Louis C.K.
Okay, I'm going to amend my point. He was the best because he got to the point that I wanted someone to say for a very long time, which is, you guys are not going to be suffering after this.
Right.
So we're really here to celebrate the people who don't get the attention that they deserve. Yeah. And that's exactly what we got with the short films and the sound mixers and the again, that's who we're really celebrating. When the costume designer for Mad Max Fury Road came out and she was in the leather jacket, she became my all-time favorite winner of all time. Yeah. I'm sorry, that jacket was awesome. The fact that she wore a leather jacket to a tux and dress affair is just sweet.
Well, if you I've seen screen caps later on where people have taken her march down the aisle. She's getting nasty looks from the people in attendance. They did not like that she didn't dress up, and yet she basically cosplayed as the people she dressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she won.
Well, of course she did.
Yeah. It's like, I won. I don't care what. I'm wearing what I want to wear. Behold.
Even if she didn't win, she still wore what she want to wear. But Louis C.K. hit it right on the head. I'll be honest here. I hope that he'll. I don't know if they'll ever let him present, or that the host the Oscars. I don't know if he has
I don't know
that
if he,
kind of.
I don't know if he has the host persona, but I mean, certainly, I think he proved that he's in touch with what it's all about.
Although I'm waiting for his episode of Louis about his next door neighbor, who is the guy who has the Oscar on the mantle in the shitty
Yeah.
apartment.
Yeah.
I know that's coming. It just feels like a Louis,
Yeah.
a Louis piece, to be honest. But
Okay.
yeah,
So to kind of like wrap up the discussion of probably the biggest controversy or whatever surrounding the Oscars, did the boycott work? This was the lowest rated Oscar showing in 8 years. So since 2008.
by 8% in an age where we're cutting the cord.
Yeah, there's
No.
there's another point.
Wasn't Walking Dead still airing that night?
Yeah, Walking Dead was on.
Yeah.
They didn't air the Downton Abbey finale. I think they forestalled that one on PBS. But
Yeah, as much as people love Downton Abbey, they were watching the Oscars. But no, it's just.
Or they
I
just
guess-
didn't care about the awards.
I mean, still 34 million people watched it. So
Yeah, I mean, okay. Let me put it this way: the Academy need to get its nose bloodied, and this is the best we're going to get this year. Who knows what we're going to get next year? All I'm concerned about is if we're going to go too far. If we're going to have that point where, hey, you have a great performance, but you're not the right ethnicity. I especially am really critical of Oscar So White for not being more open about other ethnicities besides African American, especially in a year when Benicio del Toro was robbed of an Academy Award nomination. I'm sorry, Sicario is that awesome. What are you doing, Academy? What is your problem? Okay.
And
I'm done.
if
Get a
Oscar
grip,
Isaac had
people.
if Oscar Isaac had been nominated for Ex Machina, would we be having this discussion still? Probably.
Okay, well, I'm trying to hold on to my Alicia Vikander moment, so let's.
well, I think for sure there were standout performances that didn't get necessarily the nod they deserve. But let's talk about the winners.
Okay, let's talk about the winners.
We had a very interesting. At the top of the show, we were told that we were going to follow the filmmaking process. So we started with the screenwriting awards, which actually we didn't know it at the time, but set up Spotlight bookending the show because it started with Best Original Screenplay and then ended with Best Picture. No one knew that was going to happen because that was the last you heard of Spotlight until the end of the show.
Well,
so
it had
let's.
a few nominations.
It had nominations.
It had nominations, but no wins.
wins.
So you went. It won the first award and the last award.
Well, I think most of, with the exception of Mad Max, there was very few consistent winners.
Yeah, there was. I mean,
spread out.
The Revenant won 3, which was just one more than the Spotlight, and that's counting the acting win for DiCaprio.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so Best Original Screenplay was Spotlight. That I don't think that really surprised that many people.
I'll just say that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, did you feel that there was a better original script that didn't get the nod?
No, not that it didn't get the nod. I've been pretty vocal on this since we did the episode, but Ex Machina is going to be a classic in about 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Spotlight, I think, is going to be one of those things that we're going to, when we think about the 2010s, we'll probably, it'll have a place in that area of films that came out this decade. But Ex Machina, I think, is going to be something that our grandkids are going to find and that they're going to talk about. It's going to be in that pantheon, in my opinion.
So Spotlight is the Crash of the 2010s?
Not really. I mean, Spotlight is a great film where some people would probably argue that, Crash wasn't so great. I think that it's just that this is just showing this short-sightedness of year-end awards. But then again, I could be completely wrong. Hell, it could be Spotlight that our kids are watching, and Ex Machina is a blip on the radar. I don't think that's going to be the case, but again, it's just we don't know. We don't know what's going to be available moving forward. But Spotlight is a great film, and the screenplay works because, especially considering when you've seen the film, because you have to understand, Spotlight is a very slow burn. I mean, it literally the only moment of pure passion that you see is that 5-second scene that you see with Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
That is the most energy that anyone gives in that film, intentionally so.
Sure.
And so, and it's funny because as soon as that scene ends, he goes back to being okay again. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
It's just like that, but it is one of it's kind of like All the President's Men.
Worked it out of his system. Okay, Best Adapted, The Big Short.
All right, have y'all seen The Big Short? If y'all have seen it, then
I have not seen it yet.
Okay, I am surprised that this did win, but at the same time, it's a pleasant surprise because this is the anti-Oscar movie. This is the I want to say that this is the Andy Serkis of Oscar movies. You know, I just. Yeah, to see him, I just didn't realize that Adam McKay was so big.
I heard it referred to as the Kids Bop version of The Wolf of Wall Street.
Not really. No, it's different. But at the same time, you could actually watch both at the same time, or as a back-to-back feature, and feel even more gross about the people who run Wall Street. It does make you feel a little dirty, although you do get to see Margot Robbie in a bubble bath, so that makes.
All right. So of course, immediately after your script is written, before you do any other work on your film, you cast your best supporting actress. We're following the process. It makes sense. Listen, bear with me. Nothing else can get done until that supporting role is filled.
Get your director and your leads.
Yeah. No. Alicia Vikander for The Danish Girl.
I'm sorry, you mean Ex Machina?
Ex Machina, yeah.
No. There was no such thing as The Danish Girl. Alicia Vikander won for Ex Machina. You can't tell me otherwise. I'm sorry. La 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 la. No, she won for Ex Machina, and in that sense, amen. Great. I wholeheartedly agree. It was a bit of a surprise, though, because I think for me, I pretty much thought it was going to be. What was it? God, I can't believe I forgot who it was. No, see, Alicia Vikander's Ex Machina. Yep.
Yeah. You were thinking maybe Charlotte Rampling or.
No, I wish I'd seen that film before seeing the Academy Awards because I really wanted to. I'm still going to at some point. But I heard nothing but good stuff. And every scene that they show in the trailers and stuff make me think this is going to be really good. So.
Yeah. All right. And then we went on, literally Fury Road, won 6 in a row, interrupted only to give Chivo his 3rd Oscar in a row for cinematography. But I mean, Mad Max Fury Road, costume design, production design, makeup, editing, and sound mixing.
Well,
swept the technicals.
A 3rd win for Chivo, and then 3 all sacred numbers.
Okay, I'll talk about Mad Max, and then I'm going to go on my Chivo rant.
Okay, so. I had kind of predicted that Mad Max was going to sweep the technicals. Do you feel that? Okay, so I kind of struggle when a film does so well in the technical categories. Obviously, no one was really nominated for acting in the film, but at the same time, when you kind of got down to it, the 2 most technical films were Mad Max, The Revenant, and then maybe The Martian. In terms of kind of like the big film, but Star Wars wasn't nominated for Best Picture.
No.
So, but to see Mad Max do so well in those technical categories, knowing that it probably wasn't going to get Best Picture, still it made me feel good. I felt good about that. So, Chivo three-peats. How do we feel? How do we feel?
He doesn't three-peat. He just did a two, but
No,
okay.
no. Gravity, Birdman, and The Revenant, right? That's 3 in a row.
Oh yeah, he did win for Gravity.
Yeah.
No, mind.
All right. It's a three-peat. It's a hat trick.
Then that makes me even madder because okay, let me explain something. Emmanuel Lubezki is possibly one of the greatest cinematographers of all time. No doubt, I'm not going to disagree with that. He is genuinely that good. But his cinematography went against what the movie was going for. It's pretty, but it went against the whole grisly, dark, violent, ugly nature of the movie. It was too pretty for its own good. This should have been given to Roger Deakins for Sicario. I am extremely upset about this because Sicario's cinematography was technically intricate, exciting, unique. This is one of the first times when a filmmaker is capable of making the night vision cinematic, which is something that I've never seen before. It fits its story. It fits what it's trying to go for. What Lubezki's cinematography is beautiful to look at if you're not paying attention to the story. If you put it on a wall, yes, it'll be great. But Deakins served his story better. He made his cinematography work with this particular film. And to me, this is as frustrating as Leonardo DiCaprio not winning for The Wolf of Wall Street. It's perfect. Just the marriage of artist and art just was great, and he lost to very pretty pictures, and that's really frustrating. But I'm in a minority, and I respect that. But no, it should have been Deakins this year. This was Deakins' year. Yeah, shame on you, Academy.
You know, I saw The Revenant. I saw it on the big screen. It worked, but it didn't give me anything new that I felt I didn't get from Gravity or Birdman. Okay, I get the long takes, I get the sweeping visuals, Children of Men, kind of the same way. So I guess for me it wasn't a surprise because I kind of figured that he had it locked for that one. But on the other hand, I feel like I mean, certainly the cinematography in Mad Max was just as good and served the story. From what I've seen of Sicario, probably the same thing. But let's talk about the category where I feel like there might be even more controversy. So visual effects. Now this went to Ex Machina, which while it did have interesting visual effects, do you feel like it did the most with the visual effects of? I mean, again, we had Mad Max, we had Star Wars, The Martian, things literally taking place on other planets.
I'm going to say yes, but for a very unique reason. One thing that really surprised me when I saw Ex Machina, especially on the big screen, is first off just how much they were able to make Ava look completely robotic without having to use a $20 million budget. Ex Machina was done for, I think, what, $3 or $4 million.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that we've seen the house. That house cost a pretty penny to use. So for a very low budget science fiction film to get that kind of intricate visual effect work. And one of the great things about these particular technical fields is that these are being voted on by the guys in those fields. So they're the ones that know kind of how, what the deal is and kind of what, where the things go. And as I think it's pretty clear with The Martian and Mad Max, a lot more of this was in physical than visual effects. Mad
Max, I think, especially, and Star Wars to a degree too, were both a little bit of throwbacks to doing stuff practically. Yeah.
Practical.
Now, I'm going to say one thing. This is one of the reasons why I'm still hoping that the Academy will wake up and eventually make a category for best stunt and dance choreography. Because, especially Mad Max Fury Road, let's be honest here, those stunt teams deserve Oscars.
Yeah.
If there ever was a reason. And
you know, Andy Serkis presented the award for visual effects, and that's kind of another area where I'd like to see some expansion. Would be best motion capture.
Did y'all catch the shade that he threw the Academy?
Indeed, I did.
I was I have to admit when he did that, I was like, you're awesome. I'm waiting for the memes. I know the memes are coming. You know that they're coming, right?
Well, the DiCaprio memes have to get out of the system first. Those really hit like they were made and waiting to go.
So we're gonna replace we're gonna replace Leo with Andy from now on.
Actually, there's pretty much a movement for Johnny Depp. It's like, where's Johnny Depp's Oscar?
No.
He's had a lot of movies, and
like what?
That's a real blanking right now. Now, granted, he's had a lot of crappy movies, but
that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, I mean, with Leo, everything that he does has kind of he's wanting to do something unique. Even if it fails, he's trying. Can you honestly say the same thing for Johnny Depp?
maybe
I didn't think so.
Even the really Oscar baity Johnny Depp, like Black Mass, isn't quite at the level of doing it. But let's get animated and talk about the Minions and Woody and Buzz showing up. Now, I don't really have any affinity for the Minions, but when Woody and Buzz showed up, I was pretty into it.
That was awful. Woody and Buzz, it wasn't the fact that we had Woody and Buzz. It was that they couldn't do better than what they did. That was like that was half-assery at its most half-assiest. That was
the Minions animation was much better than the Buzz and Woody, and that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Buzz and Woody animation should have been so much.
Well, I think
even Tom Hanks sounded like he was phoning it in.
They were stuck in 1995.
He might have been Skyping in.
So I have not seen any of the animated shorts, but Bear's Story delivering the first Oscar for Chile, I think, was great.
First Oscar for Bears.
They were excited about that. Inside Out, I don't think surprised anyone that took it. Although I think Anomalisa was kind of like in the running for the dark horse, but didn't quite get there.
I'm just glad that both were nominated, and obviously because both of those movies were my number one of last year.
Yeah.
I was really happy that it won because, especially considering Pixar had been kind of in the dumps for the last few years with their sequelitis that they were doing. It was nice for them to come right out, especially with this film, and hit you right in the gut, and now we're getting more sequels.
Now, what do you think about splitting animated into digital animation and traditional animation?
No. There's not enough traditional animation to make that a valuable option.
Well, and a lot of the traditional is a blend now as well. Since the Lion King traditional animation has blended with computer.
Actually, all the way back to Rescuers Down Under.
Yeah. So I don't think that you're going to see that split too much. So kind of in the middle of these kind of other movies getting awards, Mark Rylance brings home Best Supporting Actor for Bridge of Spies.
That was a little surprising.
This read as a surprise, maybe because just like that info, or just like that little interview package showed us, not a lot of people saw Bridge of Spies, maybe?
Well, here's the thing. I've been around a lot more people who've seen Bridge of Spies than I thought were out there. But then
Yeah.
again, I also was rather eager to see this one, and it was actually a pretty decent crowd when I went and saw it. So I think that it's a joke that this is your grandfather's movie or your dad's movie,
Sure.
but for a dad's movie, it's actually really good. So I mean, I think that let them joke about it, but Mark Rylance did a great job. Obviously, he impressed Spielberg so much he's going to be his BFG in his BFG movie. So, I mean, that's really exciting when you have an actor and a director that that can work as well together as those two did, and that they're working together again. And who knows? Maybe they'll have another Academy Award to be celebrating next year when we see the BFG later this year.
I feel like this is a category where probably nobody feels snubbed. I don't think that there was a standout.
Well, all of them took away some award somewhere in the award season.
Yeah. And again, this is kind of. I feel like the supporting categories are categories where we end up with like your Christoph Waltz, they kind of like to go a little out of left field with these, and I know Rylance, he's been around for a while, so it's kind of his chance to make good. But then we went right into the documentary, the short, the documentary feature, the live action, the foreign language. Any surprises here, or?
I kind of was surprised that Amy had taken Best Documentary Feature. Not because I don't think it's a bad documentary. It's actually a pretty good one. But it was just that with so many interesting and unique documentary subjects, I would have thought that one of the more tastier ones, especially Cartel Land, would have won it, considering that it both had audience and critical acclaim.
Right.
But then again, Amy Winehouse.
You had two music docs. You had the Nina Simone documentary and the Amy Winehouse. I thought it was interesting that it went to Amy.
Well, considering they both pretty much sang in the same realm, I have to agree on that one. By the way, all of them are on Netflix. So
yeah, that's pretty nifty. And Son of Saul out of Hungary, that was the only foreign film that I really heard about.
Yeah, that's the only one that's
outside of the Oscars. So it kind of seemed like a lock.
Yeah, and I'm eventually going to go see it. This is one that I'm very eager to see, just because of all the hullabaloo that's been made about this film. I'm really eager to see what it's all about.
All right, time to face the music.
Oh, do we have to? Come on, I protest the music. Okay, I'm protesting.
Really?
Yeah, this was one of the worst lot of music, at least within the last 10 years. Give me 3 6 Mafia again, please.
I will agree wholeheartedly to not being a fan of the writings on the wall from Spectre. That's probably for me the worst James Bond theme since Madonna, and I did not even in this crop of best songs, I did not see it being the favorite. I think in terms of the actual performances that happened during the show, Lady Gaga was miles ahead of any of the other performers, and actually delivered, I think, a moment comparable to the Glory performance.
They were
last
trying
year.
too hard, and that ending with the rape victims felt really exploitive to me. So I was a little, I don't know, I was a little turned off. The song itself it's not a bad song. It's just, it's especially for a documentary that I have a feeling we'll probably talk about this documentary somewhere around on the in the spectrum of things. But yeah, this song just, yeah, I just had a real problem with it. But
I thought it was probably one of the best moments of the show, and I'll kind of talk about that later. But to me, I don't think that the Sam Smith song and I don't really have anything against Sam Smith as an artist. I just don't feel like this was the best that they could have put forward. I would have been probably even happier with Earned It, Earning It. So at least you could say
to have
the Oscar-winning 50 Shades of Grey
and the Razzie-winning 50 Shades of Grey
and the Razzie-winning, yeah. So
recognized.
the
So
in terms of the scores, I don't think it was a surprise that Ennio Morricone won for The Hateful Eight. I think there were several strong scores that came out this year. Probably, I mean, I would have been happy with John Williams for The Force Awakens.
That was actually my favorite moment of the telecast. Was Ennio Morricone's acceptance speech. Mm-hmm. Especially considering that he had never won before. And if you've listened to his music, you know that this guy earned it 7-8 times over by this point in his career. And for him to give the kind of love that he did to John Williams, which it's very rare for an artist to single out another artist's work and be able to say, I don't know how, my work is any better than yours, and to honestly feel it. I mean, you have the lip service people like, oh yeah, we are all artists, don't touch it, but for him to break down the way he did, and I think that if there's one thing that I'm glad for The Hateful Eight for, if anything, it's the fact that Ennio Morricone got his Oscar for this movie.
Yeah. So we get our leading actress and actor wins.
Director.
Oh yeah, here I am skipping over.
Yeah, because we really don't need to talk about this one, do we? Come on.
Well, we have to say he won.
He did win. He did indeed. He won. Second year in a row. And how do we feel?
I'm protesting. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So like one of the few non-white winners, and you're just going to go ahead and protest?
Well, it's just that again, the movie is a mess. It's a real mess. And it's really because of the conflict between Inarritu's direction and his cinematographer doing pretty things. And because of that mismatch, I don't feel that this movie deserved to be as highly regarded as it does. And especially considering George Miller and everything that he did, considering the craziness of this, considering that for like a full hour you just had his co-workers going, you're the best, you're the greatest, this is all for you. And when it come time for him in a moment that he really did deserve, nope. I'm sorry, he's a great director. He's got his 2 Oscars now. Now he can say he's, the Latino version of Steven Spielberg now, but I don't know, just George Miller should have gotten it.
Yeah, I can't disagree, I don't think, with that. While Inarritu did impress me last year as probably one of the best, I don't think that this year. I don't think for me you could go beyond Mad Max, and even I think in terms of adapting material to the screen, The Martian I thought was pretty well done. So to Ridley Scott, George Miller, to me I don't think Inarritu tops those two.
Martian really did get snubbed this year.
Yep. The Martian got snubbed. Let's see, what was the other big one?
So to go into the acting wins, were there any surprises here, or was it just the fact that it finally happened?
For the wrong movie.
for the wrong movie, which the Academy has a history of. But let's start with Brie Larson for Room.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I think I've been more than vocal about this. Brie Larson's my favorite performance this year. I'm super happy that she won it. The fact that she, especially considering that she's someone that doesn't do a whole lot of commercial work. She pretty much stays in the realms of the art house scene now, and it's paid off. And especially with this scene, in a way, if we had like 10 or 12 nominees for a supporting actor, which I'm starting to think we really should at this point, considering there's always seems to be more supporting actors and actresses that deserve nominations than the leads. Because Jacob Tremblay, especially when you're watching the scenes from the from the clips they were picking, is like, now I'm starting to think maybe he should have gotten nominated. I mean, that his performance, especially for his age, was really good, and I love the fact that throughout the night she's playing with them the entire time. And,
I loved when he told Chris Rock that he's like, I loved you in Madagascar. You were the donkey.
Well, did you see his picture with Daisy Ridley?
Yeah.
That was cute. Come on, that was like really, really adorable. But no, I mean, it's just that I don't know. It's just
I don't feel like it was a shock that Brie Larson won for Room. I would say that is, at least as an outsider kind of looking in, that's probably the most deserved of the acting wins of the night in terms of the performance that they won for. Now let's talk about somebody who has long deserved an Oscar that finally took one home.
And should have gotten it last year.
What's Eating Gilbert Grape? The Aviator.
Yeah.
Django Unchained. The Wolf of Wall Street. No! The Revenant.
It's the Bear movie.
So, but hold on a second. Now, you talked about how the cinematographer, the director in the Revenant, didn't deserve their win. Was there a performance in The Revenant that deserved a win?
Actually, there was, but it wasn't nominated.
No.
The Bear?
It was Will Poulter.
Okay.
Will Poulter was good.
He was incredible. I'll tell you right now, he was so good. I'm actually mad at Warner Brothers for canceling it, because now I really wanted to see what his Pennywise would have been. I mean,
They canceled it?
yeah, well, it's coming back now, but it's not going to be the one that they were doing with Cary Fukunaga. But Will Poulter is really good in this. I love what he did with his character, especially since it was a small part, but he has the most range.
Yeah.
He gets to do the most unique and interesting things with his character. With I guess for me, the problem with what DiCaprio is doing with The Revenant is every time I'm watching him, I could just see him begging for the Oscar. It's like, please.
Can you see me suffering? This is what I'm willing to do.
Yes, it's
He's
like
holding up a sign saying "Vote for me" every scene.
pretty much everything he does. I mean, the way he grunts, he's doing it just as like, hey, I'm acting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's doing it right for the camera. It's not that he's giving us.
I ain't afraid to lose. I've done it already.
Do you really think anybody deserved leading actor more than he did? Of the other nominated actors.
Well,
yes.
I mean,
Okay.
I would say that from the nominated performances from The Revenant, Tom Hardy did more in that movie than played a much more complex character, a much more nuanced performance.
He was twirling a mustache half the movie.
But for me, than DiCaprio did. In fact, when I saw The Revenant, I enjoyed the Tom Hardy scenes more than the DiCaprio scenes.
But I enjoyed them because they had Will Poulter in them.
Yeah, for a lot of them. But for me, I think for a performance from that film, it would have been, of the nominated ones, Tom Hardy. in terms of the lead, the overall performances, I mean, Matt Damon in The Martian was, I mean, that's a bulk of that film is Matt Damon. So,
all right, so my two favorite performances this year, both of them got nominated, which was Steve Jobs.
oh yeah, Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender, Steve Jobs, and Matt Damon for The Martian. Both of which, first off, when it comes to Fassbender, he's playing a character that we all pretty much know. He obviously has the Aaron Sorkin script to kind of help him out here,
right.
But he allows us to really hate this guy, to really just like say, you know what, you're a piece of turd, and I don't like you, and yet we can still watch and not feel like we want to just leave the theater.
Yeah.
And that takes skill. That takes a lot of skill, and especially when he's fighting off other actors that are basically trying to take the scenes away from him, from Kate Winslet to Seth Rogen. There's others in there. I'm not going to go through the list, but you know, all of these actors are giving it their all, and they're trying to take away from Fassbender, and Fassbender is just tearing it up. Interesting enough, also Jeff Daniels, who was also in The Martian, who also had great scenes in both films. But Matt Damon, it's because he's all alone, and he gives us this. His take on this character is interesting and unique. This is what I'll call the Robinson Crusoe type, right?
Yeah.
This is he's all on his own.
Your Castaway.
Yeah, the Castaway, yes, but I think that in a way, what I mean by the Robinson Crusoe role is that you have nothing to act against but other objects. He has no other actors to act against. Even when it comes to the screens would get cuts, but he's probably looking at a green screen when he's doing his parts. So he doesn't know what he's doing. He is out on a limb, completely blind. Going directly off of what he's getting from Ridley Scott and what he was capable of doing, making the character that was engaging and human and yet at the same time smart. He allowed his character to be smart and brilliant and not be just a complete and utter isolationist nerd. To me, all of that plays in The Martian's favor.
So DiCaprio gets his moment in the sun, gives what I thought was a decent acceptance speech. Yeah. Best Picture, we talked about bookending this ceremony with wins. Spotlight takes Best Picture. Was this, to any of you, a surprise?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I mean, Spotlight's won enough awards. It's not a surprise.
It was in the hunt, for sure.
But I honestly thought that Mad Max could have pulled it off.
Yeah.
Specifically because of all the insanity and the fact that it was, it wasn't just a great.
It was the most awarded show of the night or film of the night. So you kind of have to, the odds makers, you kind of have to give it to the, by consensus, the one that gets the most Oscars.
Not really, because
it could be the best film. I think when you're trying to predict the winner, you have to pay attention to when does the movie peak and when does the voting happen. Spotlight peaked at kind of the right time, because right around the time that the final voting started for the Oscars, Spotlight was in the news with the Vatican and their anti-abuse coalition that they're starting, or investigations and things like that. So you had the story of Spotlight peaking, kind of the film's popularity peaking at the same time when in the real world you had actual live results happening from what the film was about. So to me, I think that kind of cemented the win. It's interesting to me that when you talk about how voters watch the films, in a large part they're watching DVD screeners. Mm-hmm. So films to me like The Revenant, like Mad Max, don't play as well on a small screen. Although small screen can mean a lot different now, because when you have a 60-inch widescreen, it's a little bit different than watching it on your computer.
I'll be honest, one of the things that does surprise me about this is that if we're talking about screeners, I just could see a lot of people falling asleep and taking a nap to Spotlight. It is that dry. I'm not kidding. We're going to be doing Spotlight as the Best Picture winner, but it is a dry movie. And on top of that, I just don't see people who supposedly have too much to do to actually watch movies sitting down and not falling asleep to this one. It's not the kind of movie that you go in after 12 working 9-10 hours a day over the day and coming home with a nice beverage. Yes, you're going to be asleep by the time the credits are over.
Yeah. Mad Max, say what you will, keeps you awake.
Yes. So that does surprise me, but at the same time, I'm also kind of happy because we don't get these types of movies very often. We don't get these types of movies that trust in their stories so much that we don't need big, brassy acting going in. That the story itself can be so compelling that you're caught up in what's going to happen next, even though you know what happens next. And that's to the credit of Tom McCarthy, both as the writer and as the director. I'm really happy that he got his Oscar for writing because Tom McCarthy is just this weird and unique indie filmmaker who makes these weird and interesting movies. And I hope we talk about some of his other stuff because The Station Agent practically gave us Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
The Visitor, which is something I think you, Lobster, would just really get into. Win-Win is my personal favorite of the lot, but as long as we stay away from The Cobbler, we should be okay. Although, to me, it's like there are probably like producers now wanting to speak with McCarthy about his next project, and I could just see him wanting to do something about fly fishing. Just something very mundane, very boring, but he'll find some way to make it interesting. I could see him like driving agents crazy with his lack of commercial appeal to his movies. But,
all right, so that will do it for the winners and the losers. Final thoughts?
About the winners and losers, or?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of overall, and then I think we should talk about our own personal best and worst.
Okay.
Maybe not necessarily who was best dressed and worst dressed, but
I didn't pay attention this year. I was.
Hey, actually, I know who my best dressed is. So.
Yeah. I guess overall for me this year both felt like kind of an embarrassment of riches in terms of great movies to choose from, but maybe a lack of consistency in terms of what got recognized for what it did well. I think for me the clear winner here is Mad Max, which really did get recognized for what it did very, very well. And I think again the acting awards were kind of a mixed bag. So to me this Oscars felt more about momentum than actual performance, which does put the whole, when you talk about the whole Oscars so white and what's actually getting recognized, is it at this point all about PR and less about performance?
It is, but it's always been that way. You have to take the Academy with a slight grain of salt, because let's be honest here, there is a lot of politics involved. It isn't just about a film being great. If you want just a film being great, the Critics' Choice Awards is the best way to go. And they do other categories, and I think that they are more interesting, to say the least. That they'll have more interesting movies in part of their award ceremonies. But in a way, what I appreciate about the Oscars specifically is we get to see the real force behind the movies getting to get some international attention and love, and they're not shut up in a stage or a booth or running wires or holding cameras. For a moment, everyone gets to say thank you for giving us these great movies, even if they don't win. Just being nominated, getting that name, hearing your name being called out, is something that all aspiring filmmakers want to have at one point in their lives.
Speaking of saying thank you, I can't believe that we haven't discussed this yet. The Crawl.
What was the?
Yeah.
What was The Crawl?
That was their way of trying to speed things up.
Yes, it was. So
they failed.
The idea was that if you allow you pre-write your thank yous ahead of time, your gratitudes. When you're announced as the winner, it can run across the bottom faster than the human eye can read.
It's all meant for the YouTube generation. It's the whole point is that you can go back and watch it on YouTube and slow down.
I don't even mean by speed, just the font and the colors used. Couldn't read it.
It was minuscule, but at the same time, they still gave you got your 45 seconds to make your speech, and I guess the idea was they wanted them to focus on content, not necessarily shout outs.
Well, that's what I loved about Inarritu was that he dared to challenge the music.
He kept going. He absolutely did.
He waited until they stopped and then he said thank you and left. I mean, that's the mic drop.
So, I mean, for me, dumb idea. It just...
Yeah, it was bad.
No, it's not anything. And the show still went, 20, 30 minutes over? So it's not, to me, anything substantial that helped. I mean, they still took more commercial breaks than the Super Bowl. So it's like, are you writing the teleprompter speeches during these? Do you know
how much they
breaks?
get for commercials? You know how much the advertisers pay for the Academy Awards? They pay more. They pay just like half of the Super Bowl.
And people were talking about that IBM commercial with Carrie Fisher in it.
Yeah.
Well, the one I thought was hilarious, and I wish that they would have gone further, which was Watson and Ridley Scott. I was hoping that Watson would remind him of his 1984 commercial for a certain other company.
I enjoyed the mundane situations that then were dubbed over with Oscar acceptance speeches.
All right, so how many did you catch? How many did you catch? Come on.
I don't know if I could identify what they actually came from.
Well, there was Cuba Gooding Jr., Jeff Bridges.
Yep. Yeah, the Jeff Bridges one I did get, yeah.
Yeah, Whoopi Goldberg.
Okay.
And the other one was, I want to say it was Jennifer Lawrence.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that to me was kind of the best, kind of playing around with it, but other than that was the most Super Bowl-y commercial of them for me. But best and worst?
I was going to ask what your choice for host would be for next year. Keep with Chris Rock? Go Louis C.K.?
Well, considering that he's taken some time off, I'd say go with Hugh Jackman again.
Yeah, I cannot argue with that. After Deadpool, I'm kind of curious to what if they ask Ryan Reynolds. That I don't think that you could. I don't think that would be terrible. He's certainly shown not only a willingness to poke fun at himself, but to poke fun at show business as well. He might not do as much of the song and dance, but it could be some good stuff.
Yeah, just give us 3PO and BB-8 as the hosts.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, that was awkward.
What happened to C-3PO's red arm? Why did the Academy have to fix it? Just to make him look like the Oscar statue?
Well, no, he was getting it fixed at the end of episode 7. So.
Okay. Best and worst.
Yes.
I think I already mentioned what my best and worst are.
All right, let's hear it.
Well, Brie Larson, best. Yes. Congratulations, Brie. Call me when you're done with that loser, okay? But no,
What would you say is the worst moment from the show?
the worst moment probably has to be the Stacey Dash moment.
Yes, that's on my list,
That's
and
on
I
my
believe
list.
it's on Ken's list as well.
It's top.
Yeah.
Was it intended to be funny?
I've been
because it was
thinking about that for
awkward?
days now.
Yeah.
I had no idea who Stacey Dash was.
Wait, you didn't see
So-
Clueless? Put it on the list.
What?
It's Clueless. Stacey Dash comes from Clueless.
It is a
But
classic.
she is also a Fox
she's
News.
Yeah, she's evidently on Fox News.
Yeah.
And maybe not the most outspoken advocate of positive race relations,
Yeah.
from what I'm given to understand.
Hey, she helped Cher out in that moment. Okay, I'm just saying. She's done her best for race relations. So just saying.
Any other moments that you really thought were great or that fell flat?
Feel free, Kent.
I mean, I think for me. Oh,
Okay.
do you want to go ahead? Sorry.
No, if Eric's done with his best and worst, then yeah.
Okay.
I've got like a whole mini list of
Yeah.
here. So, Jenny Bevan's outfit, the
Yes.
award winner for Mad Max.
Yeah.
That was it was one of my bests. Leo's acceptance speech. Thought it was
Finally
somebody
getting to
who
hear
could
it.
have-
Yeah.
Somebody could have walked up there and said, "Yeah, I finally did it." He could have Kanye'd it, and we wouldn't
Mhm.
have mad.
It would have been hilarious
very
if
subdued.
Kanye came out and did you didn't deserve this. Will Smith deserves this.
Yeah.
The behind the scenes stuff you didn't see on TV that I saw through other social media scenes. Like,
To go back to Leo for a sec, the
yeah.
the fact that he clearly had a message that he wanted to put across as well, that he had some time to think about, but
and he got it in time.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that wasn't on TV that we got to see through social media, through other channels.
Yeah, that's always fun. Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo trying to steal a giant Oscar. Lady Gaga meeting C-3PO, and then a separate video of her meeting R2 that are actually very cute videos. You should look them up. Now, when he brought the Girl Scout troop out originally to get the orders,
Hmm.
That
wasn't
was.
I kind of thought that was cute. The problem was when they came back later to brag about how much they raised, that's one of my worst moments.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
Don't brag about it, just do it.
Well,
It's cute.
that was
Now, don't
Chris
waste
Rock
any more
doing
time.
his Ellen. That was Ellen ordering the pizza.
Hmm.
Right, which is fine,
Listen,
but you didn't have to.
Batman loved his Thin Mints. I was
Yes.
a fan of seeing stuff like that later on.
And
And
what did you-
we briefly mentioned Joe Biden, but I love that Joe Biden also gave him a 20.
Did hands up if you suddenly got water in your face during the memoriam?
Oh, absolutely. I think
Suddenly,
there were a
something's
lot
happened.
that were fresh, and there were a lot that it kind of reopened old wounds, like
Yeah.
Christopher Lee, Leonard Nimoy to close with. No Abe Vigoda. Do we need
right,
to check
that
if
that's
he
one of my.
is he still alive? Maybe they weren't sure. They're like, we
I hope
can't
not.
verify that he's dead. We don't want to report it.
And I already covered Stacey Dash as one of my worst ones. That stupid skit about if the guy on Mars had been black instead of white. I had just seen the exact skit
Yeah,
a few days earlier on the Nightly Show.
yeah,
The
yeah.
Must be-
same day, almost word for
Oh, so
word.
you're the guy who watches the nightly show. Okay.
Yes, I watched it on Comedy Central the next day. Just watched the 3 late night shows. Yeah,
Leslie
so
Jones in The
that's-
Revenant, though, please. That was perfect. And
Uh,
these Danishes are good, girl.
yeah.
Oh.
Okay. so,
No.
your
No.
best and
No.
worst?
Best.
You're
Again, I mentioned that I loved Lady Gaga's performance. I thought that was kind of the moment that the show needed, and an actual moment of healing in a ceremony that offered very little in terms of actually poking fun at race relations. I have to say that the Black History Month minute did it right. That's something, playing with your expectations and just absolutely. And I had to Google it, but yes, Jack Black was in Enemy of the State. I had completely forgotten that he was in that. And again, I love it when actors go over the music or acceptor when they're accepting it and they go over the music. I loved Inaritu going over the music. Was it Ride of the Valkyries for some odd reason?
It was Ride of the Valkyries.
And actually having a really good message in there, which for one of the few Oscar winners who does kind of fall in that minority category, it was nice that he addressed that and put a positive spin on it. There were a lot of jokes that fell super flat. Probably the biggest one was the Asian kid accountants. I don't think there was any reason for that joke to exist. And again, even from someone like Ricky Gervais, I mean, he would know better than that.
No. That's the whole reason why you do that joke. That's the whole reason, is because first off, he was making such a big, and the whole Oscar So White has been made such a big deal out of tackling African Americans. This was his way of telling a tasteless joke in a way that that included the Asian community without resorting to the more stereotypical jokes. This was.
I'm leaning in because I'm not quite sure if you're saying what I think you're saying.
Yes, because first off, let's look at it this way. The joke is basically that these kids are accountants, right? So first off, they're smart. They're so smart that they don't even have to finish grade school to be CPAs. Second off, the next joke was that that he was condemning the audience about talking about his tasteless joke, using the phones that these kids would have used. It was one of those kind of compound jokes that was meant to hit you once, and then as you're about to lean in for the next one, he hits you again. It's actually kind of brilliant. Tasteless, but brilliant.
I think it was brilliant that there were multiple levels to the joke that all sucked. So that's my take on it.
That's your take on it. That's true.
And obviously, I said it before, and I'll say it again. Picking on Jada Pinkett Smith, hell no.
All right. Well, you can take it up with Mr. Rock. I have a feeling that he's very receptive to criticism. But all right. So,
again, it's telling for me that the role that Tremblay knew him best from was playing a jackass.
He was a zebra.
What was he?
He was a zebra.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm thinking of Shrek. Sorry.
Shrek. He's a jackass.
And so basically, you're mixing Chris Rock up with Eddie Murphy.
That's exactly what I did there.
Okay. I see now. All right.
Hey, I will own my shame.
Okay.
Yes, own it. But no, it is getting late. We don't want to have the Ride of the Valkyries playing us off. So let's go.
We're returning next week to race relations. This is not a debate that's going to die with us.
And it's been around, and this is one that won an Oscar too.
Yep.
So I'm kind of excited to talk about it as well. So yes, on our next episode of Art House Legends, we are going back to the 60s with a little-known lawyer named Atticus Finch. I don't know. Have y'all heard of this guy?
He's a bird. The man's a bird. Birdman. Harvey Birdman, attorney at law. Talking about another bird.
That rocks.
You mean Mockingbird?
Yes, a Mockingbird.
Could
Yeah.
be.
Or is it a Mockingjay?
Yes.
No,
Okay.
no joke.
Oh, wrong movie.
No joke. Is it a blackbird singing in the dead of night?
Okay, I think that we've gone too far. I think that. All right, this is the movie, dude, Eric,
This is Kent.
And this is John a Lobster.
and Fiend.
Okay, you got that note that we were challenged to do Zardoz, right?